In Book 2 of the Republic, Plato offers one of the most penetrating moral thought experiments in all of philosophy. Through the character Glaucon, Plato challenges Socrates to prove that justice is good in itself, not merely for the rewards it brings. To do this, Glaucon constructs a vivid and brutal scenario. He describes two archetypes, the perfectly just man and the perfectly unjust man, stripped of all appearances, tested not by society's opinions but by the consequences of their true nature. Glaucon says, "They, the people, say that to be perfectly unjust but to appear just is the height of happiness. Therefore let us suppose two men, one just and the other unjust, and let us assign to each a complete life. Let the just man be thought unjust, and let nothing be taken from his justice. He must be stripped of everything except justice. Though he does no wrong, he must have the greatest reputation for wrongdoing so that he may be put to the test as regards justice and not as regards reputation. He must continue to be just though he be reputed unjust and suffer all the consequences of that. Let him be flogged, racked, bound, have his eyes burnt out, and finally, after every kind of suffering, be crucified that so justice may be fully tested whether it is worth having for its own sake. On the other hand, let the unjust man have the fullest license to commit injustice, and with the reputation of perfect justice. Though he commits every crime, let him still reap the rewards of virtue, so that nothing may hinder him in the pursuit of injustice. And let it be established that injustice is more profitable than justice, provided its practice is secret and appears to be just." Though Plato wrote centuries before Christianity, many early Christians recognized in this persecuted righteous man an astonishing prophecy of Christ himself, unjustly crucified. Yet Plato's narrative was never merely historical or symbolic. It revealed a timeless moral pattern, the persecution of true innocence under false pretenses of justice, repeated throughout human history. Today, we find Plato's righteous man vividly alive in the story of Kilmar Abrego García, currently detained unjustly in El Salvador's notorious Secot prison. Plato's original vision described a man falsely accused, publicly condemned without credible evidence, and subjected to severe torment and disgrace. This innocent individual becomes a scapegoat, enabling his persecutors to present themselves as guardians of justice while actually perpetrating grave injustice. Kilmar Abrego García, a Salvadoran national who had been living lawfully in Maryland, precisely fits this ancient template. In March 2025, despite a clear federal court ruling explicitly prohibiting his deportation due to credible fears of persecution, García was forcibly deported by U.S. authorities. The government later acknowledged his deportation as an administrative error, yet García's suffering continues unresolved. The accusation against García, that he was affiliated with the MS-13 gang, remains unsubstantiated and denied consistently by García himself. No credible evidence supports these allegations, yet they provided justification for his abrupt removal. Once deported, García was imprisoned in Secot, El Salvador's massive, notoriously brutal prison facility, known for harsh conditions and widespread human rights abuses. He remains incarcerated in isolation, cut off from consistent access to family or legal counsel, subjected to profound psychological distress. His unjust imprisonment, far from secret, serves as a highly visible warning to others. García's public humiliation and suffering reinforce a political narrative casting migrants as inherently criminal, thereby allowing authorities to justify severe immigration policies in the name of public safety and morality. In this way, García's persecution exemplifies a troubling moral inversion recognized by Plato. Persecution itself becomes a twisted marker of supposed virtue. Those responsible claim to defend public safety, morality, and righteousness, but in reality, they enact profound injustice upon an innocent man. García's innocence, his genuine righteousness, is obscured beneath accusations designed solely to justify his torment. The act of persecution thus provides a moral facade, enabling persecutors to claim righteousness precisely by harming someone innocent. Historically, such inversion frequently appears when persecutors position themselves as defenders of morality, order, or religion. Indeed, García's imprisonment occurs within a broader contemporary context in which political authorities invoke Christian nationalism, ironically employing religious imagery and symbolism closely associated with the archetypal innocent victim, Jesus Christ himself. Thus, García's plight not only mirrors Plato's ancient parable, but also highlights the profound irony of invoking moral or religious authority to justify acts of cruelty and injustice. Too often, moral lessons derived from historical or literary sources like Plato's righteous man or Christ's crucifixion are abstracted and safely relegated to the past. We comfortably acknowledge these stories as symbolic, distant, or philosophical, conveniently avoiding applying their clear moral implications to contemporary injustice. But Plato's narrative was never merely hypothetical or safely distant. It confronts us urgently, demanding we recognize and respond to the real, tangible injustices happening before our eyes. Kilmar Abrego Garcia's ongoing detention at Sikot is precisely such a tangible injustice. His persecution occurs now, not historically or theoretically. To truly grasp Plato's moral lesson is to recognize the pattern clearly, directly, and uncomfortably, not in history alone, but right here, right now. Kilmar Abrego García, suffering unjust imprisonment, represents precisely the innocent, righteous figure Plato described, persecuted unjustly, enduring punishment because society prefers comforting illusions of justice rather than the difficult truths of innocence betrayed. Recognizing Garcia as Plato's righteous man does not simply affirm a philosophical point. It demands an ethical response. If we sincerely honor Plato's moral wisdom, or indeed any moral tradition valuing justice and truth, we must acknowledge this injustice plainly, oppose it actively, and seek its end immediately. Plato's righteous man is no mere historical example. He lives today in Sikot prison, and the moral responsibility Plato places on us through Glaucon's disturbing challenge is as alive and urgent as ever.